Speaksies.
I've started recently wearing V-neck undershirts, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not.
All right, welcome to Origin of Species. My name is Scott. I'm here along with my friend Steve, and we were just discussing V-neck t-shirts.
Well, not t-shirts.
Undershirts.
Undershirts.
Yeah,
There's a difference.
I need that crew neck, that really tight crew neck to, I don't know why. It's like, I have to have that. It's like a comfort blanket.
I think it keeps you, I feel modest
Yeah.
in a good way. I feel like I'm not showing off this part of myself, and maybe that's why I'm worried about this V-neck transition
Yeah.
that I'm going through. So for some reason, my lovely wife, had suggested, if you thought about, V-neck things, I think it was because I was wearing maybe a sweater or something that was showing the crew neck a little bit too much.
Oh, right.
So she ordered a pack for me. I put it on, and immediately she's like, well, I guess we'll take those back. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, look at you. And I looked at myself, and the undershirt by itself with it on is weird. And it's very strange how much an extra, inch in my
You're showing your
decolletage.
decolletage. Thank you.
Which is, it brings out, but it makes a difference. And
I feel like you could pull that off, though. I'm a little surprised.
It depends. Well, it depends on the cut of shirt.
Actually, let me back up. You have some V-neck shirts you wear in the summer, don't you?
Well, I just get aggressive during the summer. I have some shirts that the undershirt comes off, and that's how you notice it's vacation.
No undershirt
Steve.
at all.
Yeah, and a little bit of my, swarthiness, my Europeanness comes out with that. But it's very interesting, a difference it makes. And I'll give you an example, like live. So, I'm wearing a dress shirt. No, I'm not taking my shirt off.
Okay.
One button.
Yeah, one button.
And I feel like that where, things could happen right now.
Yeah. And what it is, I see some chest hair coming out, and I also see like a little bit of the V coming down. Yeah, and there's something seductive about that. It's like seeing a little bit that you're not supposed to see. It's kind of naughty. I agree with you.
But the downside
I agree with your wife.
Yeah.
You should take those back.
But I'm not. And the downside is too, sometimes I'll have like we're kind of rushing for dinner. I'll just discard the dress shirt and wear a t-shirt, wear a crew neck undershirt at dinner, which isn't, it's not very good manners, but it's acceptable. But just with the V-neck, it's like a whole new scene. Like, I feel like someone's going to get hit with a belt at some point during the meal.
Basically you're one step away from the ultimate power move, which is, we can't say the name of it, but the t-shirt that, has the straps, like the tank.
Yeah, the tank t-shirt.
Right.
Which everyone listening has 5 different names you'd probably call it.
It's the one that's
acceptable to say on air.
Right. It's the ones Tony Soprano wears. I've been rewatching those.
The thing about that I don't get is I don't understand what the point of that is.
I don't either.
Because I like the undershirts for the armpit.
The armpit
protection.
Right.
And I guess this is just pretty much keeping your ninnies protected.
I
don't see advantage. It's like all.
I've ordered some before. I've bought some before because I had lost some weight. I was feeling really good about myself, and I was like, I want to see what these are all about.
Yeah.
Because never before would I have tried it.
Right.
And I got them, and honestly, they do make you feel kind of powerful. There's something about wearing one around the house. No, not with the kids around, but because they would automatically freak out.
That's what they should. And if they ever saw me in the, just again, dinner just feels like it could break into some scene from The Godfather 2 at any time. But maybe I got to try the tank style. Maybe that's the next thing. Maybe this is like a gateway drug to that.
But yeah, I don't know what the point is of those other than just looking like you're about to be on Cops. Yeah. But, all right, this is not undershirt related, but it's just shirt related.
Please.
When are turtlenecks going to come back? They have to come back because when we were growing up in the 90s, it was like...
It comes back.
I mean, it's been a while. Most 90s stuff has come back. Maybe, the turtlenecks may have come back.
Well, whenever they come back, I'll get into them 4 years afterwards. But
yeah. I love turtlenecks because it's like somehow it keeps the waddle or whatever I've got going on underneath my beard hidden.
Well, maybe they'll come back. I'm looking forward to the time. I've always wanted to wear an ascot. And now the older I get, like I see, the neck, my poor throat keeps going through whatever it is it's going through. The back and forth of my annual weight ups and downs, but
yeah,
somehow
I feel
got
like
depressing.
I feel like pocket squares are kind of played out. Ascots are where it's at. So you ever notice? So there was this thing that happened about, I don't know, 10 years ago, where the suits, like, okay, Steve Harvey suits. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Like just really bold with the pocket squares and all that. Like that seems so tired now. Like the really bold, but I feel like guys are still dressing up that way to look flashy. Like you know what I mean? Like the black or the gray suit with like the real flashy colors. Right. Oh, I don't know. Do you wear those? I'm sorry if you do, but
no, I basically dress like I'm an FBI agent. I have like one suit that I wear, and
that never goes out of style.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't wear a V-neck underneath of it, because people will know if you take a couple buttons down.
Or maybe that's what I need to do to, he's an undercover agent. I think I'm going to segue out of this before.
Let's do it.
So I don't know what's about to happen, but whatever it is, it's not good.
No, we're not going anywhere good.
So this actually the V-neck shirts, the more I think about it, is a very good lead into the inspiration for this episode. So,
Burt Reynolds?
No, not that good, but Florida related. So,
okay.
I'm going to be a little bit facetious because I don't like to give away too much information on people who we talk to. But a very good friend of mine who's actually one of my managers at one point in my career, I'll just call him my wheat.
Okay.
That's how I addressed him before. Other people claim I was like, no, that's my wheat.
My wheat.
My wheat. So he's from Florida, but in a good way. Wouldn't know it if you saw him. Cuban.
Oh.
Very Cuban.
Cuban, but you wouldn't know it.
Yeah, wouldn't know it. But one of the things I enjoyed in working with him was I was a little bit known at the time we worked together for trying to find the double entendres in any statements that were made. A lot of that, that's what she said.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit of our repartee with each other. So this also inspired me. He gave me one of the idioms, and our theme tonight is going to be bull idioms.
Yes.
So his idiom's not coming up first, but it gave, in tribute to my wheat, it gave me the chance to discuss our first idiom of the evening, cock and bull story. So there we go. So cock and bull story. Is this a phrase you've heard before? Do you ever use it?
I've heard it. Never used it once in my life. But yeah, I've heard it. It feels like something that you would... this feels like one of those ones that people might use at like at the country club or something. Like, oh, don't give me that cock and bull story.
Yeah.
Francesca, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's how I think of it, but...
Yeah, Francesca at the country. I think that's the V-neck coming out, bringing out a Francesca.
Yeah. So, no, but I do feel like for some reason, cock and bull story, there's something somewhat weirdly classy about it. I don't know why. You know what it is? It's because it has the word bull, but it's not. You're not calling someone on their bull. You're saying cock and bull, but I really don't know what it means. So
I think some of the roots from it make it classy, or what or actually the imagined roots for it.
Right.
So it's a phrase that I don't know if I've ever said it, but in my mind I think I've used it. Like you hear something and you're like, that's a cock and bull story. That's just not. Oh
yeah. Or like a crock. Oh no, that's different.
Well, that's close. But I'm trying to think, going blank here, of like other versions of this phrase. Like that's a bunch of
bull. I mean, you say a bunch of bull, so which means the thing I said earlier. It's a crock of S. It's a crock. It's a but you know what? But it's all the same feel to me.
I wonder now that we've said it out loud, that's like a logical kind of derivative of it. Yeah. Of you have bull, you have the ox sound, you have those sort of things on there.
Is it tied to that, like the bull crap and all that?
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. So I'm going to rely on some research that our friends at Phrases UK and also Worldwide Words have contributed to this.
I'm not familiar personally.
Yeah, we don't rip them off every show. We don't rip them. We give them credit, so we're not ripping them off.
Right.
So make sure they're getting credit for this. So according to Phrases UK, a cock and bull story is a fanciful and unbelievable tale. And one of the things I like about this is the general origin that people use for it is a cock and bull story.
Oh, there's an actual cock and bull story.
The story of cock and bull is a cock and bull story. It's not true.
So unlike the birds and the bees, where there was not a definitive story about the birds and the bees, there's an actual cock and bull story. Is that what I'm hearing? Or no? Oh, no, still not an actual.
The most used origin that people fall back on is not true.
Okay.
And therefore it is itself.
Oh, I misunderstood. It's oh wow. Okay, mind blown. Yeah. Gotcha.
Good mind blown sound effect there. So
thank you.
Again, going back and forth between Phrases UK and worldwide words. So there is a town in England, Stony Stratford, that has
these little towns in England are so full of crap, by the way.
Yeah.
And not to cut you off, but it's just like Melton Mowbray and their Paint the Town Red. Yeah. First of all right, I'm going to go on a little tangent here.
Please.
Before you even get started. These little towns in England, you didn't invent everything, okay? Yeah. First of all, half of the things that like Paint the Town Red that America came up with, you try to like retroactively say you came up with and you didn't. So it does bother me that it's way more little English towns. And if I had to go through if I went back through, I could probably find at least 5 where they try to come back and say, oh, well, it was this little town in blah, blah, blah. So
I like your Anglo anger here. I wish if my Welsh hating friend was here.
Listen, bottom line is we're allies with the British. I like you guys, but your little dumb towns with their charging like 20 pence or whatever to go through a little tour and then they lie about idioms. I do get a little annoyed about that because you're just false.
You're
but you know what I'm saying?
Passion.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
He's rubbing off on you.
Do you notice that I've tried to not use his name and I was thinking it, but I was like, I'm not going to say it because we already went too far with him. But
he knows you're thinking about him. Don't worry about him.
We are somewhat connected in this way. Is that I'm nowhere near as passionate as him, but there's a little bit of that in me, which I do get a little fired up when people, especially when you're making money on it. Now, I'm jumping to conclusions here because I have no idea where you're going with this.
But you're passionate about it. Again,
watching this be completely off base.
Popic passion. No, you're actually very much on base. So we've come across a subcategory of origins that generally seem to be fake. And I know you used the term tour earlier. Yeah. And there seems to be just kind of general, if you tour places, they'll tell you a story about, this thing came out. I had actually had someone contacted me online, a listener who we had given something, said, I actually went to this place and this was the story, which was very nice. I'm glad that they reached out, but it was one of those tour stories that you get.
Was it an American city or was it an English city, British city?
It was not, it was European.
It was European.
It was European. It was actually Italian.
America, we don't do this. Actually, we do. There's that one Sleep Tight where we did, but that was like North Dakota or something, so it doesn't count. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm glad North Dakota seemed to take the energy out of you. That's good. You're getting a little too fired up there. So back to Stony Stratford. 2 inns are in this town, and they are right across from each other. One has an emblem of a cock, and a cock is a rooster, and the other one has an emblem of a bull. So these 2 inns are competing for people that come into town. And as the barkers are outside trying to bring people in, they each have these very embellished stories about how exciting and all the great things that are going to happen inside their inn, whereas the other one. So the stories continue to get more outlandish and competitive to the point that it becomes pretty much the origin, or the accepted origin of cock and bull being that.
Okay.
Which is not true. So that's one of those tour guide ones that comes out, and it's also Phrases UK recommends that if you want to get out of Stony Stratford alive, don't show up there with your Popic passion and straighten him out. Or maybe we need to take Barry abroad. Maybe he'll be the one.
Boy, we would get in some weird arguments and weird fights.
Yeah, and he would win. He would win all.
Oh no, we'd be on his side. Are you kidding me? I'm just saying, like we'd roll up into one of these places and say, we'll call him out on this, and it'd be like some tour guide that really. It's not their fault that we take it out on.
But they're about to get popicked is what's going to happen.
Right.
So, according to Worldwide Words, this comes originally from a French expression, coq à l'âne, which appears a lot of times as passer du coq à l'âne, which means literally to go from the cock to the ass.
Okay.
The meaning is said to have come through a satirical poem in 1531 by Clement Marot. Or Merlot? Nope. Marat. What the hell? Okay.
Clinton. First of all, just Clinton Merlot had a poem about going from the. Yeah.
Well, Clement Marot. The title is Epistle du Coq à l'Âne. Nope. Epistle du Coq en l'As.
Whoa. Easy.
Which means the epistle of the cock to the donkey.
Okay.
So it went from there.
Yeah.
And was picked up by the French. And we see it defined in 1611 in Randall Cotgrave's A Dictionary of the French and English Tongues. The term being coq à l'âne, meaning from rooster to jackass. Essentially a story that kind of meanders. You go from the rooster to the donkey.
Okay.
Your story doesn't make any sense.
So the story goes from, so you're basically, gosh, I feel like there's a contemporary expression for this that I can't think of. Not cock and bull story, but like.
You sure it's not the epistle of the cock to the donkey?
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Which, by the way, worst King Crimson album ever. They had to just bury that. Like, all right, guys.
Right.
We like where you're going with this, but we're just going to sit this one.
Like where your head's at.
On the side.
Yeah.
So once you've said the epistle of the cock to the donkey, you would think that I've kind of be tapped out on great book titles. So I don't want to.
There's more?
I don't want to build this up too much. You know, I get excited about book titles as we do this.
Absolutely.
Best book title ever. Get ready for it. So the first citation of cock and bull stories in English is from the author Robert Burton. And the name of his book, The Anatomy of Melancholy, what it is, with all the kinds, causes, symptoms, prognostics, and several cures of it. Well, I'm not done. In 3 main partitions with their several sections, members, and subsections.
What the hell?
Philosophically, medicinally, historically, opened and cut up.
What? This guy was on. He was on whatever. He's like a pipe dream going on here. He's got some poppies. Yeah, I was going to say.
We need him for Paintisocracy. He's going to be the guy building the foundation of all our.
Good Lord! What did they call it for short? There must have been some sort of.
The short title was The Anatomy of Melancholy, which you think you could kind of leave it at that because it's still on its own. It's a pretty good.
That is a pretty good title.
That
is a pretty good title for. I mean, you know, that would be a good like angsty emo album or something.
And he was, I don't know if he was angsty looking.
Well, I don't think, that whole title in itself seemed very methodical, but just The Anatomy of Melancholy. I mean, that sounds.
Somewhere Fiona Apple.
I got so wrapped up in the 15-minute long title, I don't even remember what we're talking about. So what? So,
I don't either.
Okay.
No.
Why is, so cock and bull somehow
So that was the first time
okay.
cock and bull was ever used in English.
Okay.
And a much briefer quote. Is some men's whole delight is to talk of a cock and a bull over a pot.
Okay. Some men's whole delight.
Whole delight.
Oh, whole delight. Like, okay.
Listen, we've had a lot of
delight. Yeah.
We've had a lot of cock to donkey talk tonight. So this was.
I feel like this is one where we need to take just a quick second and let's catch everybody up because I think I'm confused, and if I'm confused, I don't know where you are. So this all starts with back in like 15 something or other. Well, we got the apocryphal one where there's a cock and a bull in, that's all bull crap. Yeah. But then there's this epistle to
the donkey.
Caca donkey, whatever.
And that's which brings in the French phrase.
Right.
Which eventually makes its way into English.
Okay.
And
into this long book.
For everyone's sake listening, we'll just call it The Anatomy of the Melancholy.
Okay. And he says the whole delight is the cock and bull story or something to that effect.
Some men just like to sit around and
we know those men.
shoot the breeze, shoot the bull.
I mean, okay, so let's take a pause here and talk about that. And I relate to this a lot. There are a lot of people that like to hear themselves talk and tell stories, which while they're telling you those stories, you're like, it's not true. Like you did not refinance Bruce Smith's house or whatever it might be. Yeah. You're like, or maybe you did, but
we also went to high school with that guy that told a lot of these stories, and then later in his life did a focus on the first part, and has an army of children in the Hampton Roads area.
Oh,
so far.
That's right.
That could rise up. He has as many children as there are words.
He played college football when he was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I mean, so convincing that I actually believed it for a while.
Yeah. And maybe he did. Who knows?
He may
probably
have.
got some kids going now.
He
probably got his own football team just out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Cock and bull story. Pathological liars, really.
Yeah. So this leads very well to my next idiom, shoot the bull. So this was the one that my friend Wheat, sometimes we called him Florida Wheat.
Okay.
He hit his Florida pretty well. Part of it was having to bury that Cuban accent. I think he had to shove a lot of stuff down. But I knew, like, deep down inside, there were times he wanted to get on a jet ski.
Why would you bury a Cuban accent? Those are kind of cool.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. But that's just one of the reasons I enjoy him so much.
Florida Wheat.
So the one he suggested was shoot the bull. Spoiler alert on this one. I wasn't able to find a very definitive answer for it. But some of the things that came up I found were fun and good points of discussion. So based on my research, I think shoot the bull gets conflated a lot of times with shoot the breeze. And they kind of mean a little bit of the same thing.
That's the first thing I thought of.
In the same way that a cock and bull story is just a bunch of, fanciful things. Mm-hmm. Shooting the breeze, it kind of goes back to, blowing hot air. Right. Shoot the bull meaning probably the excrement part of that. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have to really tone down the scatological stuff after our stick episode.
I know. I'm trying to do the same, but I'm thinking of shoot that. And then I'm also thinking, though, about when you said, one of the things you just said reminded me of blowing smoke. Mm-hmm. A little bit of, is it
shoot the breeze?
Like that? Shoot the breeze, blowing smoke.
No.
A little different. Blowing smoke means you're being you're flattering yourself, whereas shoot the breeze just means you're kind of killing time talking.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, shoot the bull and shoot the breeze kind of conflate with each other. And I'm going to start out just talk a little bit about shoot the breeze. So that's something that comes around that we've seen shows up in the early to mid 1900s in the United States. So Grammars.com gives some examples of some newspapers from the early 1900s that use the term shoot the breeze. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Jippo Ale Mill hopes to be the place of community of Southern Humboldt, where they gather to love, to laugh, to shoot the breeze, and to enjoy one another. And that's from the Eureka Times Standard.
So a couple quick thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Number one, I believe it because it's America and it's not like some little town in England.
Yeah.
Number two, did you say live, laugh, love? It was very close to that.
To love, to laugh, to shoot the breeze, and to enjoy one another.
Okay.
Sounds like one of those Florida condo ads you see on Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
But that's from the Eureka Times Standard.
Cool.
Another example. At a boxing match in Lake Tahoe, California.
Boxing.
Some 30 years or so ago. The late pioneer heart surgeon, Dr. J. Stanford Stan Shelby, and his sons, now Doctors Chris and Brian Shelby, were sitting, shooting the breeze and laughing with a bunch of guys in the bleachers, as guys are wont to do. And that's from the Shreveport Times.
When was that? What year was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't say that, but
yeah,
the Shreveport Times were very pensive about looking back on the good times that the late pioneer heart surgeon.
Yeah, that, like the whitest names either too. It's like the heart surgeon. It was like Brian and Chris and wait, what was his nickname? Was like Stan. Good Lord. All right.
So, but it talks about how guys are shooting the breeze and laughing. And I think it kind of comes back to what I kind of think. You don't think of a bunch of ladies, and we are going to, for any of our keyboard commandos out there, we are going to gender stereotype right now. I typically don't think of women who identify as women
right,
shooting the breeze or shooting the bull.
You're right, but that's not like a criticism against them. But you're right, you do sort of see dudes just sort of sitting around shooting the breeze more so than women.
And it's kind of a dude thing. Mm-hmm. Going back to shoot the bull, some discussions I found on phrases.uk discuss some thoughts on that. And it's speculated in there, and again, as I mentioned, nothing's very definitive with this. Right. That this comes back from dartboards. So
okay,
early dartboards. You're up there. You're trying to shoot the bull.
Okay.
Hit the bullseye.
Okay.
Little bit.
Because darts is definitely something you sort of do when you're just sort of killing time.
In your head right now, you picture a bunch of guys holding a mug of beer in one hand,
right,
and a dart in the other.
So it's like bullseye. Oh,
yeah. So it goes with that, and I think also kind of get the shooting the bull. That led me to an unrelated one, but I've had an idiom I've been sitting on for a while that I wanted to bring up. It came up earlier when I was doing research for a card and gambling episode that I had.
Right.
And this popped back up, and this was a good chance for me to use that. And I wouldn't put this in the loaded for bear or cut of your jib territory. But again, keeping with my friend, my wheat.
Yeah.
It's something that sounds a little bit dirty, but it's not. And it's middle for diddle.
Middle for diddle.
Middle for diddle.
I am excited right now. I've never heard this.
I would
filthy.
personally recommend that when the word diddle comes up, that you do not say the word excited afterwards, just for future context for you.
I'm not so much excited, for the word itself, but just the fact this is something I've not heard before. But I will take that under advisement because you're right. Fiddle for diddle.
Middle for diddle.
Middle. I'm thinking of fiddle faddle.
Yeah.
But middle for diddle actually sounds real dirty. So go on.
And it's a rhyme used to decide who starts a darts match.
Oh, bringing it back to darts.
It's got some English pub. Kind of goes back to Cock and Bull.
Yeah.
The fake story of the two.
Right.
You could see maybe the competing.
Right. So you got
pubs.
The cock and the bull competing to middle for diddle to see who's going to shoot the bull first.
Yeah. So you would go out there. You would see, I guess, who gets as closest to the middle.
Okay.
So they could diddle and then start.
So diddle, boy.
Yeah. Well, part of this
it's fun to say. I'll give you that.
It is, but as Phrases UK points out, diddle has a bit of a double entendre meaning. It can mean a lot of different things. Cheat or swindle. It's a slang term for gym. The sound of a fiddle, and also euphemism for sexual intercourse.
I've heard of all of those except for the slang term for gin, like the drink.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you said gym.
No.
Like, do we need a slang term for gym?
No.
Okay.
And what I like about this too is even when it's used correctly, the term diddle, it still sounds dirty. So we go back to
there's no way for it not to sound dirty.
So call back to one of our favorites, Sir Walter Scott.
Yes.
Who is not Sir Walter Raleigh.
Right.
He used it in his journal in 1826 when he said, "A day diddled away and nothing to show for it." So
yeah, diddled away. Diddled away doesn't sound dirty. Middle for diddle sounds.
Oh, I think
filthy.
diddled away sounds dirty.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Now, when it's Sir Walter Scott and his giant, whatever that collar was that looks like it's made out of coffee filters, I don't see himself, or maybe he does. Maybe that's his outfit when he needs some solo time. I'm not sure.
It's kind of like halfway to the cone of shame, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't see what's happening, and maybe never. Anyway,
so
diddle. Shoot the bull. So get back to shoot the bull. I wasn't able to find anything definitive. I think it's something that just kind of throughout the years got combined with shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
Kind of mean the same thing. It sounds kind of cool when you say shoot the bull. Something like you and the guys are doing. You're playing darts, talking about diddles, and then, whatever happens from there is that.
Hey man, whatever happens once you play middle for diddle is off the record.
Yeah.
We don't speak of it, I guess.
So keeping with our bull theme, going with one that I think I probably use more often than not. Bull in a china shop.
Oh, yes.
So it's one you hear. And it's one that I like because I think it's a visual.
It's great visual.
And everyone can relate to it. Even if you're new to the English language, if you know what the words mean, it gives a great visual of a bull. Just a giant beast going through delicate things, smashing and making a mess.
So before you get into the history of this one, have you seen the episode of Nathan For You where he convinces a drunk guy to wear a huge blow up suit and go into an antique store?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. It's one of the fun. You've seen Nathan For You. I probably made you watch
You're an evangelist for him. Yeah. I actually saw his name the other day and thought of I thought of you because I was like, I remember very fondly watching him.
I mean, Nathan Fielder, some episodes are better than others, but I think he's brilliant, and it's really one of the only shows that consistently makes me laugh. So if you get a chance, when you say Bull in a China Shop, so I'll give you real quick the overview, which is the show. He goes under the auspices of, he goes to small businesses. They think they're on a TV show with some guy who is going to help give them some ideas to help turn their small business around. And his business ideas are always absurd. And this one was, he goes to this small town, and this lady that owns an antique store, business is slow. And so he asks her about her break it, you buy it policy. And she does confirm that you break something, you buy it. So he comes up with this idea of staying up late because there's a lot of bars in town, with the strategy of getting drunk patrons to come in the store late at night and break a bunch of stuff because it's all a sale. So of course she's immediately uncomfortable with it. But then he goes one step further to get this guy really plastered, and gets him in one of those suits that's like, like the really hilarious suits that people wear and like wrestle each other.
Right,
and
the inflatable sumo suits.
Exactly. Gets him in an inflatable sumo suit, gets him into the thing, and of course the guy breaks, $200 worth or more of stuff. So it's a hilarious episode. So Bull in a China Shop.
So have you ever had the break it, you buy it policy enforced on you?
Honestly, I should have, but no. I had a situation where I dropped an entire Starbucks coffee in a Gap. Like when I was pushing my son along in the thank God he didn't get scalded but I was pushing him along in the stroller, and the coffee dumped all over some clothes, and I was like, I gotta buy these, right? And they were like, yeah, don't worry about it. And actually I've had something like that happen more than once, but it's never been enforced. What about you?
I just had a repressed memory come up.
Oh no.
Of your Nathan For You story. Actually brought it back out.
Sorry.
So it was several years ago, or early in my marriage. It was the first time we're actually buying real furniture. Right. We're going out, and we're not going to Target or Haynes or whatever. We're going to a real furniture store to buy furniture. And I don't know if you've ever gone through that process. That is like, it's terrible. It's almost worth not having furniture. Like we can just sit on the ground. But after, so at that point in the day where your brain is mush, and you finally made the decision. And during that time, one of us had bumped into some sort of clock or something. Oh, no. Something was broken. As we continued, we decided to make our purchase from that store. And as the person is ringing up everything, we see puts it on there.
No.
And this is, again, our first big expenditure.
But they didn't say anything in the moment? They let you go along with your shopping, and then they were like...
No, I think it was kind of, we did the...
Okay, you're like, we'll pay for this, but you're hoping that they don't.
It's the proper etiquette of it. You should offer, and they should do the proper thing. If you've just given us a lot of money,
X amount on a couch.
And I had one of those kind of moments of clarity of, do I put my foot down here and promptly rub it in her face, or is it worth it at this point? Like, do I want to have to deal
at this point in the day?
Anything that increases the percentage that I'd have to stay at the store longer, is not worth it.
You paid for it. Right.
So I paid for it mentally and in that, but
was it recoverable, or was he just dropping the trash can?
No, I think it actually I think it was something hideous, and I think it circulated in our family as a white elephant gift for a few years.
Speaking of white, we're going all over the place, but that's I had a hard time listening to that because I was getting chills as you're telling me, because that is first of all, that whole process is just the worst. But I got invited to a Christmas party this year with a white elephant. And if you're listening, you know who you are. And they put, please no gag gifts. And it was like $20 and below only. Dude.
What's the point?
What's the point?
You do something funny and you have a gift card with it.
I know. It was like get something that you would enjoy getting. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. To me, the whole white elephant, the thing is, get something tacky or funny.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, I'm not going to be able to attend.
So, I'm going to bring your joy back up.
Please bring it back. Bull in a China Shop.
Bull in a China Shop. And as our friends at Worldwide Words very eloquently put it, as they put it, it's a way to express a metaphorical clumsiness, the damage caused by want, diplomacy, or tact through mindless aggression. So it's not necessarily a violent action of the bull isn't intentionally knocking over everything. It's not someone having a riot. It's just a clumsy situation where, you send him in to negotiate.
Yeah.
And he was a bull in a china shop. He was bumping all over everything. Didn't mean to, but he did. So it's an idiom that there's not a definitive time where we know where it comes from. But based on other things that are out there, Worldwide Words states that it was in the vernacular enough that it could be used in a song. So from the year 1834, there's a music hall song full of bad puns, which is just anytime you get, definitely in that dad joke stage of life. So
this episode proves it, man.
Let's kind of go through this a little bit.
Do it.
Whatever his feet couldn't assail, he made ducks and drakes with his horns and his tail. So frisky he was, with his downs and his ups, each tea service proved he was quite in his cups.
Oh.
This would be much better if I had a British accent, which I don't. He played Madge's diversion among all the crates. He splintered the dishes and dished all the plates.
Oh.
Wordplay. So this is...
Middle my diddle.
They should put a middle my diddle in there. This from Bull in a China Shop, a anonymous contribution to a songbook called The Universal Songster or Museum of Mirth. Very interesting. There's the two titles and none of them were racist. That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
So
it's also weird that it came from someone anonymous that they had something that spectacular.
Yeah. And it also comes up again in the London Review and Literary Journal in 1812. Reporting on a performance of a pantomime called The White Cat or Harlequin in Fairyland.
Ooh.
So probably, nothing racist, but probably a homosexual connotation.
Harlequin in Fairyland, probably.
Definitely. Yeah. There's got to be
something. Either that or it's
Harlan
Ellison short story.
In Fairyland. All good things.
Yep.
So, Bull in a China Shop is one I like to use every now and then.
It's a good one. It's one of the more visceral, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's one of the more illustrative sort of ones we have out there. I mean, you just, it is what it is. You take the most fragile thing you can think of, which is a china shop, and then you put probably the most uncontrollable thing possible in there.
Yeah.
It's paints a picture.
So, and again, a tribute to my friend Wheat, keeping with our history of things that kind of sound dirty but aren't. Middle for diddle and cock and bull. And that's how I want to end.
Okay. Got it. Hey, this is Scott. Thanks for listening to the episode. I am about to eat some salmon and kale. That's right, kale. Kale is delicious and it's so good for you. I don't understand why anyone would dislike kale. You guys know that kale's good for you. It's good for your skin, your hair. It's good for your bones. It's like way better for you than spinach. It prevents heart disease, and you can make it in a variety of delicious ways. Anyway, hey, thanks for listening. Tell a friend. Give us a rating. Make sure you are subscribed to True Facts with Robert Banquette and Personal Records, both of which will be dropping special episodes very soon. Thank you again for listening to the Speaksies Network. Kale is good.
Lots of water spilling over. Getting the boys to go outside. Getting the boys to mount to outside. Interrupt the strife. A conscious onlook of one's fate.
Hey man, whatever happens once you play middle for diddle is off the record.